Hi, I'm Neve Campbell, and this is an oral history of Sidney Prescott. My initial reaction to getting the role was glee. It was my first lead in a film that I had gotten. I had done the audition process. I had read this brilliant script. I didn't know a lot about horror movies, but I knew this one was good, and I knew that it was a very meaningful job to get. And so I was stoked. Crafting the character, Kevin did it. He crafted the character. He wrote a brilliant script and some really solid roles. And, I think it's just thinking about Sidney's journey and what she's going through and thinking about being that age and what one would feel if these things occurred and not having sort of a dependent family who could be really there for her solidly. It made sense, her journey and her fear and her feeling of instability. And then the fact that she comes into her own and finds her strength and is able to sort of stand up to these young men was fantastic. It was a great opportunity because that's not normally the way it goes in horror films. So it felt kind of like an honor to find that she was not going to be a victim, that she was going to be a survivor.
Hello, Sidney.
No!
Poor Billy boyfriend. An innocent guy doesn't stand a chance with you.
Leave me alone.
I didn't meet Roger L. Jackson, I don't think, until the third film. They actually decided that it would be best that none of the cast actually meet him, that we really should just have this idea, hear this astounding voice and feel what we felt from the phone, which I think was a really good choice because, oh my God, that voice is incredible. It's terrifying. And I do remember hearing it for the first time. I remember finding it very helpful with performance. I think I was 22 or 23 when I made this film. I was still fairly new to filmmaking. I had been in theater, I'd been in dance, and I had done television, but, I had The Craft and Scream come out around the same time. So I had no idea what expectations should be for films or for box office. And I remember my agents calling me, and I can't remember what the number was. I think the number was like 30 million the first week, or the first or second weekend, and they were elated. And I was like, is that good? I actually was like, oh, I wasn't sure how I was supposed to respond. They sounded so serious on the phone, and it was actually, they were calling to tell me that it was a hit. So I was pleased.
Hello?
Hello, Sidney. Remember me?
What do you want?
I want you. It's showtime.
Then why don't you show your face, you fucking coward?
I was super excited to continue the character. I think it's very rare that you get to revisit a character unless you're a part of a franchise. So to have a think about who this young woman was now and what her new experience was, and now she's out of high school, now she's in college, and there's new people around her, and what would her experience be now that she's endured what she has in the first. It was fun to sort of find that scope and find that journey. Yeah, it's a great opportunity to be able to play a character a bunch of times.
I should call his mother.
Sid, I already made that phone call. Are you okay?
Stop treating me like glass, Dewey. I'm not gonna break.
I was devastated when Jamie Kennedy's character passed. I was, I think there's just certain elements or energies in the cast that you're like, these films can't be without that person, that character. So when they made the choice that he would pass, I was mad and sad and shocked, which is what they wanted the audience to feel as well. So it's understandable why they did it. I think that's why these films are great, is that these characters have great impact on people. Audiences are rooting for them, and then you never know who you're going to lose. So it was not difficult to sort of play that character, that loss naturally. Yeah, her line about the glass. And yeah, it's Sidney finding her strength and saying, look, I've been through this. I've been through a lot, and I'm not going to break. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that Scream 2 was the highest. That's amazing. I mean, it's great as an actor to have a film that's that loved. It's funny because when I meet people, I get different. Everyone has a different feeling. I mean, obviously the first is very, very popular, but sometimes people will say the fourth, sometimes people will say the fifth. We all have a leaning for whatever reason. Well, these films are meta. I mean, that's the brilliance of the first, is that we hadn't really seen a horror film that takes a look at itself in that way. Yeah, it's fun. It's surreal shooting on a set that's supposed to be a set as well. But also we all lent into that because it felt a bit genius. It felt like really, really clever. And it's nice whenever these films sort of capture that kind of wittiness. It's fun to be a part of. I hadn't thought about that nightmare sequence in a long time, but I think it really reveals sort of the subconscious of what Sidney's feeling, her loss of her mother and the fear that she's experiencing. I think often Sidney's covering up a lot. She has her defenses up, and in those moments, I think in that scene you get to sort of get a true sense of her sadness.
It's my rental.
Okay, it's now official crime scene. Let's lock it down.
When it came to 4, I was elated. I was really happy. I hadn't thought that we would come back, or I wasn't sure that we would ever come back. I'm not sure we felt audiences would still be interested. So as much as I was excited to be doing it, there was also some trepidation. So I was really pleased to see that audiences still wanted to see this franchise. Sidney's come to a place where she's, instead of running away from her past, she's embracing it. As we've seen, she was a trauma therapist and she engaged in that way with helping people, but then she's also come to a place of being really open. She's written this book and she's become very open about her experience in a way to maybe help other people become courageous. So it's nice to see this evolution of the character.
What?
Welcome home, Sidney. Preview of coming events.
Why don't you come for me? You got the balls for that?
Oh, poor Sidney. You think this is all about you? You think you're still the star?
This isn't a fucking movie!
He was the same guy. He was as graceful and intelligent and smart and generous as ever. Took his time with all of the crew and the cast to tell the best story he could possibly. He never failed in that way. Five was an interesting one because it was COVID. As a shooting experience, it was challenging. I really like being on set with the director. I really like being behind the monitor. I really like digging in, getting involved. And unfortunately, we had these regulations where the actors were not allowed to sit in the same room as the directors or anywhere near the crew. So that was challenging. But at the same time, when I got to take those dang masks off, not the Ghostface mask, the other masks, the COVID ones, which are worse. When I got to take that off and get on set and engage in Sidney and act and work, it meant a great deal. Matt and Tyler were so enthusiastic about being a part of the franchise. They were so excited. So their enthusiasm was, it was exhilarating.
Sounds about right. You ready for this? Never.
Reuniting with David and Courtney was beautiful. It always is. I think for us, we've been doing these movies now for 30 years, and it's always a little bit like going back to summer camp, because the first one certainly felt like summer camp. So we always get really excited to see each other, and we get excited to meet the characters again as well. Like I would miss Courtney and David, but I would miss Dewey and Gail. So it was nice to sort of engage in that energy.
Fine, you know me.
Yeah, I do. That's why I'm asking.
I'm fine. I just want you to be safe up there. Do you have a gun?
I'm Sidney fucking Prescott. Of course I have a gun.
So, I'm Sidney fucking Prescott. Of course I have a gun was not the line. What was on the page was Dewey saying, "Do you have a gun?" And I say, "Of course I do." And I said, "That's not good enough." And I wrote the line. And it's one of those lines that now I get asked to put with all my autographs. It's a good one. Dewey's death. I'm not happy about it. Nobody was happy about Dewey's death. Yes, Randy's death was heartbreaking, but we hadn't had him long enough. We'd had Dewey for so long that I think it hurt just that little bit more. And David, I think it felt like a death. I mean, it really did, for him to not be able to play that character anymore, for me to not be able to work with that character again. The idea of that was really sad. You know, it's hard sometimes saying goodbye to characters.
Did you miss me? Nice little town you found. You and your pretty daughter.
We find Sidney in a different place in her life. Yes, she had kids in 5, but they were little, so we didn't get to really engage in that energy. In this one, she's mother bear. She was courageous to have a family. That would have been a very bold choice for her, considering the patterns in her life. But she also chose not to sort of let her past rule her decisions, and decided to have this beautiful family. And her greatest fear is her past coming back and disturbing them. She doesn't want that for Tatum. She does not want Tatum to know much about her past. She doesn't want to share any of that with her, and she certainly doesn't want Tatum to have to live it. And then, of course, we're making a Scream movie, so the killer comes back, and he's coming for Tatum, and he's coming for Sidney, and her greatest nightmare comes true. And she is forced to teach her daughter to become a survivor, to teach her the courage that she had to take on and find, which is not what she ever wanted to have to do. But it's the way that they bond, it's the way they find each other. You know, I think we find at the beginning of the film that there's a crevice between them. There's a distance because Sidney's never been able to share completely honestly. And now that they have this shared experience, they get closer.
I'm gonna make everyone you love suffer. While you watch.
Matt Lillard, Stewmacher. He's one of the favorites. Everybody loves that character, and people have been wanting the character back for a very long time. I didn't think it would ever happen, but here we are, and I'm not going to say much because I don't want to spoil anything, but love that man's work. And I love the character, and I think fans are going to be pleased.
This killer has been planning his attack for years. Your daughter, Tatum, is the same age that you were when this whole thing started.
This isn't gonna stop unless I stop it.
I was so happy that Kevin came on as the director. You know, we were having conversations about who it should be, and of course now we realize it couldn't have been anyone else. It had to be Kevin, and he's wanted to direct one of these films for years. I can't quite understand why it didn't happen. I was lucky I got to ask him. I had to ask whether I could be the one to make the call to him. We were on Zoom, and I told him, and we were in tears. He started crying, I started crying. We were very, very excited. And then there was a part of me that's like, I really hope he does it a good job. And I saw the film a couple of days ago, and he's knocked it out of the park. So I'm stoked.
All your friends died for just being near you.
Where is my daughter?
I think the go-to Ghostface has got to be the originals. I think it's got to be Stu and Billy.
Well, you sure know a lot about me for another asshole hiding behind a voice changer.
Oh, I'm not hiding, Sidney. Not this time.
I guess the one amazing thing is that fans come up to me and they say, Sidney changed my life. I was going through a really hard time in my life, and she gave me courage somehow. And doing a horror film, it's not something I really expect to be a benefit of making these films, but you just never know what people's experiences are going to be. And the fact that she's brought people courage, somehow helped people in some way is, it's beautiful. But on a lighter note, these films are just a lot of fun to be a part of, and dang, I'm lucky.